What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Andrew coming at y'all with another video. And today we're putting in that Mechman alternator finally, y'all. So I'm just gonna run down which one I got and all that. So I got the Mechman 240, which is specific for my car. You just look up your car and then it'll show you which ones are available. I got the 240 over the, I think it's a 320, just because it's a little cheaper. And I've heard that it even says it in the description that the 240 handles idle voltages or amperage. It's more stable than the 320. The 320 is supposed to only be really good at like when you're driving, actually, when your RPMs are higher than 800, like your idle's around 800 anyway. But I realized most of the time when I'm doing demos sitting still, not put my foot on the gas. So that's kind of why I went with the 240, because in the description it does say it's kind of the best of both worlds, having good idle and good like driving speeds as far as amperage. So that's why I went with the 240. A lot of people will be like, why didn't you get the 320? That's why. But before I started doing anything, I wanted to go ahead and find the fuse that I needed to tap into, because with the with my alternator, it doesn't use the factory regulator. I'll tell y'all that in a second. But if you get you one of these test lights right here, plug it up to like a ground, a solid piece of metal, and you just see, I'll show you an example of one that lights up. Let me back the camera up a little bit. Let's find a random one that's hot. So let's see this right here. If it lights up, that means that it's not a 12 volt switch fuse. And what you want is a 12 volt switch fuse. So basically, if it doesn't light up, like this one right here, that one right there doesn't light up, that's the radio fuse. So it's only gonna light up when the car is on, or like when you got the key in the ignition. And that's what I want, because I don't want to have the alternator thinking that the car is on and it's not, and it's draining the battery. So you look for a fuse. I had I was asking ChatGPT which were fuses that were like switch fuses and which ones weren't, but it wasn't really accurate. So I do recommend getting one of these testers just to be safe. So when the car is off, if the light don't turn on, and when you turn the car on and the light turns on, that means that you have a switch fuse, and that's what you want to use. Basically, how I'm gonna tap into that is getting one of these add a fuse taps. So basically what this does is, say for instance, you take one of these out, you put that factory one that was already in there on the one closest to the little the metal, and then you add a smaller fuse that people recommend, like a 2 to 5 amp fuse. You don't need to be big, because the excite wire or the charge wire that that's coming off the alternator doesn't need that much power, so it's not gonna blow no fuse. So you don't really need a real big one. You can put that one right here, and then you plug both of them up and you stick it back in where the factory one was. But in my case, I'm using this, but I'm gonna be using that radio accessory fuse in my in here. I could have tried to find one under the hood, but I really wanted to use a fuse that I know wasn't really gonna hurt nothing, say if it did blow for whatever reason. So I'm gonna be using this fuse right here. It says ACC radio, so that's accessory radio. But you can really pretty much use any fuse, but I do recommend using a fuse that's obviously switched, and one that's really not important if it blew. Like if it blew, my radio just not gonna work, and that's fine. I'd rather the car still be able to start. So before I get to installing, I do want to show y'all all the stuff that you need to get. Obviously, you need to add a fuse, the fuse to go inside of it, and you're also gonna need, in my case, since I got a 240, the alternator pulley is a little bit smaller. So that means that you're gonna need a smaller belt for it to fit properly. Because if you use the factory belt, like the factory size belt, the belt's gonna be too loose, because that pulley is gonna be smaller than factory. So in my case, the factory size belt is 85.2 inches. That's effective length, y'all. Y'all gotta make sure that y'all not looking at the outside diameter, because that's not the number you need to go by. You need to go by the effective length. And one way that I realized that a lot of brands use, if you look at that, hold on, let me flip the camera. If you look at the model numbers, a lot of the times they'll have the actual effective length in the model number. So this is a Gates serpentine belt, and it has 7 ribs, which is what my car has. I've heard you can use 6, but I'd rather just use 7 just to be safe. Then 846, 84.6. So that's 0.6 inches shorter than my factory size belt, which is what I want. But as you can see, this is 85.25. That's the outside diameter, and that's not the number you're actually looking for. So I recommend doing the math yourself and going to O'Reilly's or AutoZone and telling them which one you actually want rather than them telling you what you want, because a lot of times they might not give you the right one. But I'm using Gates. I heard this is a pretty good brand for serpentine belts. So yeah, need the belt, the fuse, and obviously the alternator. Let me go get it. So this bad boy right here is the new Mechman alternator. I like that they give you a lug, which is, I believe, a 0 gauge. It looks like a 0 gauge. And it also gives you their testing specs. So I got a 240, but actually it's 270 amps, so I'll take it. And obviously that idle voltage is still gonna be hilariously low compared to like the max, which is probably gonna be around 270. But hey, it's only at 800, so if you need some more amperage, like you demoing and your voltage is starting to drop, just put your foot on the gas around 1800 and you get some more amps. But this is the charge wire I was talking about. This is the Excite wire. This only has one, and since it has this, you're not going to be using the factory wires. Besides just the power, of course, you're not going to be using any of these right here. So those are going to be left unplugged, which does mean that you are going to have a battery light on. That's in my case. Some of the other alternators that they sell don't have this exact style. You really got to look and see which one yours ends up coming with. But this is the wire I was talking about that is gonna come off the alternator and go to the switch fuse. So whenever the car is on, it's gonna excite this wire and make sure that the regulator inside the alternator is running. And also, this is the pulley I was talking about. If you look at the factory pulley, I don't know if y'all can tell, but I think y'all can tell. Obviously, this is a smaller pulley, so that's why you need a smaller belt. Like the smaller amplifier alternators, like the 170, that actually has the normal factory size pulley, so you wouldn't have to get a shorter belt in that case. But since I got the 240 and it has a smaller pulley, you have to get a smaller belt. It's a must. And one other thing I do want to mention, the reason why they use this instead of tapping into the factory regulator, which is why you're not using these wires, is because the Honda system has a system called the ELD system. A lot of people really don't talk about this much, and I want to talk about it because it is important. That's probably why my voltage is so crappy right now, and that's because of the ELD system. Basically what that is the ECU, or I don't even know what the ECU is. I'm not even gonna point to nothing, but there is a way to bypass that with a resistor under the fuse box. I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but you can look that up. But basically what the ELD system is it regulates the alternator, but it regulates it in a way to save fuel economy. So what that means is your voltage is just gonna drop randomly just so to save more fuel. That's good if you got a Honda Civic and you ain't got no base. But obviously if you got base, you don't want your voltage to randomly drop just to save fuel. You don't care about that. So what this wire does right here, it bypasses that, and it has an internal regulator. It's regulated at 14.4 volts. I think you can get a external regulator that you can plug into this to get a different voltage, but I'm just keeping it 14.4. Keeping it simple, y'all. So the first thing I'm gonna try to do is gonna try to see if I can go ahead and run the wire through the firewall, because I know this is gonna be in a pain in the butt, because the only hole I got in the firewall now is the hole that has that 0 gauge power wire coming off of it, and that hole is pretty tight, so I might have to see if I can find me another hole or just try to stick it in there with it. But really, I'm gonna go ahead and do this because I know I'm not gonna feel like doing it later. So let's go ahead and get into it. So if y'all saw my video last week where I was rewiring my whole system, Y'all can see me unhook this tester. I don't need it anymore for now. And you can see where I ran the power wire going all the way around. So I'm gonna see if I can put that wire through that hole as well, but might not be a very enough space to get there. So I'm trying to see if I see any other grommets that I can tap into. But right now, I'm not seeing nothing. So I'm gonna get back with y'all once I find what I wanna do. So hopefully in y'all case, y'all might have a fuse that's for sure a 12-volt switch fuse under the hood, so you wouldn't have to do this. But it was a pain in the butt, but I found the easiest way to get through the firewall was going through the same hole, like I said earlier. And I just pushed it in through this side because trying to push it out that way was impossible. So I got that out, gonna fish it through and then cut the wire as long as I need it, and then go ahead and start taking off the old alternator. All right, so first thing I did was remove that negative end of the battery. And in my case, that little extension thing for the tensioner did not seem to want to cooperate with me. So I just got me a 19mm wrench. And you got to pull back this way to release the tension. Can't really do this with two hands, but pull back to release the tension and pull the belt off. Then after you do that, you can go ahead and start unplugging these. So pulled the belt tensioner back that way, pulled off the belt, and I also disconnected all these connectors, pretty self-explanatory. And all these bolts on top are all 10mm. And the last two bolts that are holding this alternator on is, there's a 12mm right there, and there's another 12mm directly under this pulley. So I'm gonna try to remove those two, and this whole thing should come right out. A little bit of struggling, finally got this thing out. I ain't no mechanic, it's the first alternator I've ever taken out, so it took me a little bit of, maybe about 20 minutes, longer than it should have. But anyways, let's compare this one to the new one. And as you can see, look at that pulley, a lot smaller pulley, so that's why you need a smaller belt. So now that I got the alternator out, I'm gonna probably go ahead and start jacking up the car just so I can reroute the new belt and then screw in the new alternator. All right, so for my car to fully take off the serpentine belt and put it on the right way, I gotta take off my passenger side tire. So I'm about to do that right now. Right now, I'm just trying to make sure that I know where that belt is being run. You can always look up a diagram, but I just like to look at it just in case, just so I know what I'm doing. And it seems pretty straightforward, but every car is different. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this over off. Here the belt side by side. You can't really tell, but it is slightly shorter. Just hoping it's short enough, because when I stretch it out, they damn near the same length, but I can tell that the new one is a slightly bit shorter. So now let's go ahead and route it back how it's supposed to be. All right, y'all, so I got the belt routed how it was originally routed. It's loose right now, obviously, because I hadn't put the alternator back on yet, but I do have it routed how it's supposed to, make sure it's on all the grooves. Now let's go ahead and try to get this alternator in. I'm going to try to go ahead and just get that top bolt in, just so I have it in the position where it's supposed to be. And then I'm gonna start plugging stuff back in, y'all. I got the first bolt in, but as you see, I didn't tighten it all the way. I just got it to where it's going all the way through, just so I know it's mounted in the correct spot. Now I'm gonna go ahead and try to get that bottom bolt right there. Well, guys, Houston, we have a problem. So, I was trying to torque it down to spec, 17 foot-pounds, and like, it just kept turning, wasn't getting to 17 foot-pounds, and you know, the bolt broke. So, lovely. So I'm just gonna quit for the night. Fed up isn't the word, but I'm gonna just quit tonight, see if I can find a bolt at O'Reilly's or something, and then finish everything else. After those are bolted up, all I gotta do is pull the tensioner back, pull the that part of the belt back onto this pulley, and then connect this wire to there, and then the fuse tap, the other end of this to the fuse tap under the hood. I mean, in the glove box. You know what I mean. Long night. I ain't even gonna worry about it, y'all. But it looks clean though. But hopefully I can actually have this in stock, because like, golly, the thing split in half, bro. Home Depot never fails me, y'all. Got the bolt. It's almost damn near exactly the same size, same threading and everything. I didn't even bother going to them auto parts stores because from a lot of the reviews online about all them quote unquote alternator bolts, they wouldn't fit in nobody's cars. So went ahead and did a little calculation, little chat GPT and found the size bolt that I need. So hopefully this will work and we can go ahead and get done with this install, because that pissed me off last night, not gonna lie to y'all, bro. Y'all, so I got it finally in, and I got the belt on there, make sure it's tight. So went ahead and put the wire back on this, and now all I gotta do is connect this to this and then the fuse tab on the inside. So let's go ahead and get into that. Y'all got that crimped. Make sure you actually use a real crimper like this. And then I'm gonna go ahead and insulate it with some electrical tape. I should have put a shrink wrap over this, or heat shrink, but I wasn't thinking, so I'm just gonna wrap some tape around it. Now, really the last thing we gotta do is run this fuse right here and we're done. Also, I pulled out the accessory radio fuse, and this is a 7.5 amp fuse, and this one already comes with a fuse for the tap, which is a 5 amp fuse, which is all you need. You don't need no big old fuse for this. And then, like I said, I got one of these test lights, and I made sure that whenever the car was off, that this didn't turn on, and whenever the car was on, it lit up. So that's how you know it's a 12-volt switch. So all I'm doing right here is just adding the fuse that I just pulled off. I'm trying to do this in one hand, y'all, but y'all get the picture. Put it on there, and then this goes into the fuse box, obviously. And make sure you plug in the wire, which is that wire right there in my case. And it should be done after this. That's what it should look like once it's plugged in. So make sure it's seated all the way in there, and you're good. Now y'all gotta do, plug this in, and I'm gonna be ready to turn the car on, y'all. What's going on, y'all? So everything's done. You do want to make sure that you put your factory power wire back on along with the big 3, because you know that factory wire goes into a lot of ECU and all that type of stuff. So make sure you plug that in. In my case, I had to make the hole a little bigger so it'll fit inside this. But other than that, I'm done. That's connected. Got that connected. Gonna take that off. So all I gotta do is put the battery on and try it out, y'all. All right, y'all. Moment of truth. I am a little nervous. Let's go ahead and start this thing up. 14.7 volts. Hey, we looking good. The battery light not even on, which is surprising. So everything's looking all right. Let me go under the hood so I can show y'all that it's working. Yes, sir. All right, y'all, we done, y'all. So now all I'm gonna do now is go ahead and see if I can go ahead and test the voltage and see the difference between before and after. Right now it's holding at 14.7, and obviously it should be, because it's like so at idle it is holding 14 volts. So that's good. That's exactly what I was looking for. So now we just got to test it and see what it sounds like when I hit that bass, y'all. To show y'all the results now, but I kind of expected this, but I was hoping for a little better, but I can't even complain because I do want to go ahead and get lithium at one point. But what I will say is that the voltage when I'm driving, perfect. The lowest it goes like 13.5, 13.6, by far, like way better than it was. But as far as idle voltage, like at 800 RPMs, it is about the same, maybe slightly better. So, but that's to be expected, because like at RPM, like at idle, the Mechman that I got only does 113, I believe. That's what they tested it on. And obviously I have a 3K for bass, then I got a 1500 in total for my 4-channel. So I kind of get it, but you got to get you some lithium, and that's my next project. I'm probably gonna go for like the Down for Sound LTO, like that little 6 amp or amp hour one. If y'all have any questions, I mean, not if you have any questions, if y'all have any if y'all have any recommendations beside that one, like around that same performance level, y'all let me know. But I'm just gonna go ahead and show y'all the results. First, I'm gonna show y'all what it looks like while I'm driving, because it's really good when I'm driving. And then I'm about to show y'all right after that what it is when my car is still at idle. One more thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be sitting in my car, but I'm gonna put my foot on the gas to around 1800 RPMs, just so I can get the voltage back up and see what it is at 1800 RPMs, because I should be giving 270 amps from the alternator. So let's see what that voltage is as well. So let's go ahead and do each one and let's see the results. See my RPMs drop randomly. I gotta misfire my engine, so I see it just happened right there. So I do gotta get that fixed, and it does affect the voltage just a little bit whenever it misfires. So I just want to point that out before y'all wonder what that is. See, it just went down 0.1. But let's go ahead and play some music first at idle. So let's go ahead and get into it. Right there, that was going around. That's almost about full tilt for me right now. That was going around 12 flat. So it's still kind of low, but it is at idle. So now I'm gonna put my foot on the gas a little bit. I'll show y'all the RPMs, and then y'all be able to see how much higher the voltage is.
To be more precise, you ain't wrong with me, right? Had a wonderful night, paid a hell of a price, paid a hell of a price. You can't deny the fight. The best right to be like a
lot better. I have my foot between, like on the gas, between 1500 and 1800, and as y'all saw, the voltage was around 13.2, I believe. I got to look back in the video and see, but I want to stay in the 13s even when I'm not even putting my foot on the gas at all. So with that, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and give me some lithium or a bigger AGM in the back, because I already got the excess power in the front. But I gotta say, it did help for sure. So if I'm demoing, I just know I gotta put my foot on the gas a little bit. But even when I used to put my foot on the gas without that alternator, I still used to be dropping to 11s. So right now, I think that's a win for me. But if y'all have any questions or if y'all have any recommendations for me, let me know in the comment section. Peace out, y'all.